Last month, I pointed out some early signs that the Sarasota housing market might be starting to shift. At the time, it was too early to know if it was a real trend. Now we've got another month of data, and honestly, it's getting harder to ignore. So today, I want to walk you through what's happening, what the numbers actually mean, and whether Sarasota County might be starting to shift back towards a market that's a little more favorable for sellers. Real quick though, before we jump in, I'm Adam Waxler. I'm the broker and owner of uKeepCommission Real Estate, and I've been helping buyers and sellers here in Sarasota County for nearly 20 years. If anything I cover today raises questions about your specific situation, whether you're thinking about buying, selling, or just trying to figure out where things are headed, the easiest way to reach me is to call or text me directly at 941-465-9206. Okay, let's get started. Last month, I pointed out some early signs that the market might be changing. Now we've got another month of data pointing in the same direction. More buyers are entering the market, inventory continues to decline, and prices are seeing modest increases. Does that mean Sarasota has suddenly become a seller's market? No, not at all. But it does mean the market appears to be moving away from the strong buyer-friendly conditions we saw earlier this year. Let's start with buyer activity, because this is one of the clearest signals in the May numbers. 845 single-family homes closed in Sarasota County in May 2026. That's a 7.2% increase compared to May of last year. Now, closed sales tell us what's already happened. Contracts that were signed weeks earlier and finally made it to the closing table. But the number I really want you to pay attention to is pending sales. Pending sales are homes that just went under contract. They haven't closed yet. That makes them a forward-looking indicator. They tell us where the market is heading, not where it's been. And pending sales for single-family homes were up 11.4% year over year. That's a significant jump. The condo and townhome market followed a very similar pattern. Closed sales increased 8.5% compared to last May, and pending sales jumped over 13%. Now, what makes these numbers significant isn't just the size of the increases, it's the fact that we're seeing the same momentum across both segments for multiple months in a row. So, despite interest rate concerns and affordability concerns, demand in Sarasota is clearly on the rise. But what about supply? Well, the supply of inventory in Sarasota County actually declined by double digits for both single-family homes and condos. For single-family homes, the month supply of inventory dropped more than 33% compared to a year ago. It now sits at 4.4 months supply. Now, if you're not familiar with what a month supply of inventory means, here's the simple way to think about it. It represents how long it would take to sell all the homes on the market if no new listings came on and buyers kept purchasing at the current pace. Generally speaking, a 6-month supply of inventory is considered a balanced market, roughly equal footing between buyers and sellers. Below 6 months starts to favor sellers, above 6 months tends to favor buyers. At 4.4 months, the Sarasota County single-family market is now in seller's market territory, and it's been moving in that direction for several months now. A year ago, that number was considerably higher. The condo market is a different story, but it's also moving. Condo supply dropped nearly 23% year over year and now sits at a 7.1 month supply. Now, that certainly gives condo buyers more choices, but 7.1 months is significantly closer to a balanced market than where it was, and it got there fairly quickly. Now, the biggest takeaway here isn't that inventory is suddenly low. The takeaway is that inventory is moving in one direction, down. And that's something worth paying attention to, because when demand is strong and inventory declines, prices typically follow. And that's exactly what we're seeing. The median sales price for single-family homes in Sarasota County in May 2026 was $475,000. That's a 2.2% increase compared to May of last year. Condos and townhomes, the median sales price is just over $336,000, up almost 5% year over year. Now, these aren't dramatic increases. We're not seeing runaway appreciation. We're not seeing a bidding war frenzy. We're seeing a market that appears to be finding its footing. And that's generally a positive thing for both buyers and sellers. Modest price growth with rising sales and falling inventory is actually one of the healthier combinations you can see in a real estate market. But before sellers get too excited, there's another important piece of the story. Buyers are still taking their time. Despite everything we just talked about, rising sales, falling inventory, higher prices, buyers in Sarasota County are still very disciplined. Single-family homes now average 50 days on the market before going under contract and 92 days until closing. Condos are taking even longer. The average time to contract for condos increased to 67 days and approximately 108 days to close. So what does that tell us? It tells us that while buyers are engaged, they're not panicking. They're comparing options, they're being selective, they're looking carefully at pricing and the condition of the home. And honestly, that's a healthy sign. A market where buyers are still being careful tends to be much more stable than one where emotion is driving decisions, like we saw during the COVID years. Okay, so what does this all mean if you're buying or selling a home here in Sarasota County? Well, if you're thinking about selling, the trends are encouraging. Inventory is falling, buyer demand is up, and prices are moving in the right direction. But again, and I can't stress this enough, the sellers who are winning right now are the ones who price their home right from day one. Tightening inventory definitely creates more competitive conditions, but it's not going to rescue overpriced listings, at least not in the way a truly hot market can, again, like we saw back during the COVID years. In today's market, price it right, present it well, and this market will work in your favor. If you're a buyer, especially in the condo market, you still have options. You still have inventory, you still have opportunities to negotiate. However, the data from the past few months suggests that inventory may continue to decline. And if that trend continues, buyers could face fewer choices later this year than they have right now. For me, the biggest takeaway from the May report is simple. Don't focus solely on the numbers, focus on the direction, focus on the trend. And right now, that trend appears to be pointing towards a more balanced market and slightly more favorable conditions for sellers. Whether that trend continues throughout the summer is something we'll learn over the next few months, but it's definitely worth watching. And that's your May 2026 Sarasota County Real Estate Market Update. Rising buyer activity, falling inventory, modest price increases, and a market that is shifting, slowly but consistently. If you found this video helpful, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I put out market updates every month, along with other local real estate content to help you stay informed. And if you're ready to have a real conversation about what any of this means for your specific situation, whether you're thinking about buying, selling, or just figuring out your next move, I'd be happy to help. Just call or text me at 941-465-9206. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.